Alright guys, welcome back to the square body LS swap video series that I got going on here. You'll notice there's a transmission on my workbench. So what I failed to find in my research when I was deciding on transmission and engine combos was exactly what made the two-wheel drive 6L90E different than the other transmissions. Unfortunately, I didn't come across any 6L80 deals, no four-wheel drive 6L90 deals. This was a smoking deal on a low mileage, under 80,000 mile L96 6-liter with the 6-speed trans. It was two-wheel drive out of a box truck. The output shaft on this guy is huge. It's 36 spline. It's got a large diameter. So in order to mate this up to a GM transfer case, that output shaft needs to be modified. I went through a bunch of different options on how to do that. It seems the best option is to take the output shaft out of this guy and send it to a machine shop to be resplined, cut down and resplined. I already have the transfer case input shaft out of the transfer case. If you saw that video, here it is, 32 spline out of an NP208. So this is going to get sent along with the output shaft so that the machine shop can fit it properly, and when I get it, it's going to slide together like butter and work perfect. Now, what's the problem with this is the output shaft is literally the last thing that comes out of this sucker. So as I've said in the transfer case video, there are plenty of videos on how to take this apart. I'm not going to get into that. I know for a fact that I'm going to run into a problem with the big snap ring that's down in here. The snap ring pliers are like $200 to $300 for that job, and I'm trying to find somebody to let me borrow them. Just let me borrow it to take it apart, I'll bring them back. Let me borrow it to put it back in, I'll take it back. I'm going to check at my shop at work. I don't think we have anything that large. So without further ado, let's get this thing apart. I think I've never done this. I've never in my life worked on an automatic transmission. I already have the torque converter out. Not sure what I'm doing with that. I might replace it with a performance version, not like a hot rod version, but a stock Camaro 2010 ZL1, I think they say. Might replace it with that. We'll see. Ugh, can't find a good angle here. Get my freaking chin in the shot. So let's tear this sucker apart, see what we got in here, and go from there. I shouldn't have, oh boy, this is going to be fun. I shouldn't have any oil in the transmission at this time. So if I lift up a little and wiggle, oh man, this was probably not a smart idea to do this on a workbench. You'll notice I have it dangling off too. That's because the bell housing is going to come off as soon as this comes out. So at that point, the trans will be mostly on the thing, and it's pissing oil outside. I knew this was going to make a mess. However, I'm not sure if I was prepared for the amount of mess that it's going to make. What I don't want it to do is get all over everything on the floor. That's what I don't want. All right, we seem to be mostly contained. Okay, I'm going to need a new oil pan. This one is dented, damaged, has a hole in it. So I already know that, so I'm not going to be real kind peeling it off, but it fell off anyway. What do we got? Not too bad. I don't know about that. We'll see. Obviously, I'm going to take this thing apart and clean it. And not clean it, but like inspect it, I guess I should say. I'm not going to just slap it back together without checking to see what needs to be rebuilt, what needs to be replaced. Yeah, you can see where they punched that hole right there with an awl or something, and looks like they wouldn't have hit anything, hopefully. That's good. Good news. Boy, that sucker really took a whiz all over my workbench. Knew I kept these stupid things around for a reason. Okay, it is the E12. E12. And I think I'm actually going to use a regular ratchet for this. Okay, not very tight, that's good. These are awful, awful bolt heads. They don't lock in very nicely. It's 3, 4, 5, and 6. These things are really in there. I think it's pretty obvious, but let's label them anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is why I didn't want to buzz them out. Those threads are, what is that, like probably 6'1" or something, but they're pretty fragile looking. There we go. My valve body's out. Whoa. This thing's crazy. Okay, we're going to put this down in the oil pan. There is there's a lot of oil over here. So one thing we do have to do before I rip the output shaft out is once I get most of this disassembled, we do have to flip it around, pull the cover off, and measure the output shaft for trimming. Hope these are all the same size. Okay, this is loose. This is good. I'm expecting it to be loose. Oh, something happened. Okay, did get the front bell housing and pump off. The camera filled up and it took over an hour to get the footage off because my computer sucks. Okay, technical difficulties left and right. First the camera card filled up. That took forever to dump it. Then it died. Then I just tried to go film showing you the pump. It died. Whatever, I got the pump off. So here we are. I'm gonna try to just pull this stuff apart. I know at some point I'm gonna get stuck because I don't have the snap ring pliers. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. So here we go. We're gonna start pulling these things out. This feels like it's all but ready to fall out. So I'm gonna pull that. Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna set this over here. Now what? Okay, I can see that snap ring now. So what is it? Does this pull out? You guys can watch if I really frick up here. Oh gosh. Okay, that was scary. So here's the sun gear, planetary gear set maybe. I don't know what you really technically call it, but that is really freaking cool. There it is. Got some O-rings on here. They look okay. This part looks okay. I'll put this back here. What else can I pull out? Anything? Oh, I can pull that out. Oh, and I can pull all this out too. Okay. Does this just pull out? Okay, this shaft just pulled out. So that can go here. And then this whole drum also pulled out, no problems. Looks like these drums go together. Just want to make sure nothing small falls out as I'm pulling these pieces out. Okay. That looks good. I don't see any issues. Put this back together, set it aside. Okay, we are as far as I can go until I take out this ginormous snap ring. So, okay, I guess I don't need to wait for the big tool. So I use these to get the snap ring, I think, out, or mostly out. I used this guy to get started, and then I hooked it with my little hook and just kind of gave some outward tension while I pried, and it kind of popped right out. I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt myself here, but I think it's out. That was not that hard. I don't know how getting it in would go. There's definitely a spot for it, I think. Like right here, there's like a pad. It's gonna be impossible for you to see, right here. That's where this first one went. So what I'm gonna do before I go yanking this stuff out is I'm actually gonna turn it around. We're gonna zip this off, and I wanna take some measurements, and I wanna show you guys how I'm gonna measure that. This should be pretty loose. I already had it off. So this comes off like that. There is an O-ring. Oh, there's some juice in there. Got some trans juice leaking. We'll be stopping that soon enough with the conversion to four-wheel drive. I can explain that too while I'm at it. From this mating surface to the deepest part of the input shaft is 4¼ inches. So I want 4 inches from here to the tip of this. I'm going to take this O-ring off. You don't actually need this for the rebuild, because this is all fluid filled in here, goes into your slip yoke. Once I turn this to four-wheel drive, I'll be plugging these holes, putting a seal in here, and this will effectively not have fluid in it. Now, the only problem is I do know that the bolts that go into the transfer case go into the oil gallery, the oil pan, or whatever the transfer case, oil area. So I'm gonna have to use sealant on the threads, and I'm probably gonna RTV everything together just because I don't want to have to deal with seeping fluid constantly. So here we have some calipers, and what I'm going to do first is just figure out what the step is here. So the step is 295. So transmission, I like making little sketches. Okay, so the little lip is 0.295 inches. So if I go a straight edge across here, so what's the, so basically I just have to do 4¼ minus 0.295 and then measure off of here to here, and that'll give me my distance on the shaft that I need. Get rid of this block of wood. Is that going to cause a leakage? No. Okay. So now more fun. Now we got to get this whole thing out. How does this come out? Does it just pull out? Yep, appears as though it does. And I'm trying really hard not to like get it jammed or scratch anything. Okay. Oh, this is the whole output shaft. Okay. So far, so good. Uh-oh. I don't like that noise. Oh, geez, I got thrust bearings here. You gotta be careful of. There we go. What else is down there? Anything? Nope, that's it. So, we're done. We got this sucker torn apart. One thing that will be super easy now is drilling and tapping So if you guys don't know, when you have a two-wheel drive 4L80E or 4L, or sorry, yeah, maybe even 4L80, but 6L80 or 6L90E, the way you turn them into four-wheel drive is see these two holes? You have to drill and tap these for like 1/4-inch pipe plugs, and then you basically drive a seal into this housing area right here. Once you do that, four-wheel drive ready. All right, it just took some fiddling, but then this ring came out, no problem. Now, what comes out with that is another question entirely. Okay, it's a new day. Couple things I want to mention. So, I think there was a clip right before this where I was trying to get this planetary gear set out of this output drum. There's a giant clip that comes out, and then when you're looking down in there, all you see is this. And I was tugging on it, and it just wasn't coming out, and I was afraid that I was gonna have to take more apart. So the problem is, there's two helical gear sets here. There's this top one, and then there's a bottom one. So this ring gear comes out with the carrier, and inside this drum there is another gear that's held in with another clip and a spacer. So I think this is probably also a bearing that probably has to come out. So the problem is these were just getting kind of bound up and wasn't coming out. Anyway, long story short, how I got it out. I took it, I held it up in my hand like this. Oh, there's that bearing. I grabbed a hold of the carrier by this area, and then while holding that still, I just turned and let gravity, and it just fell out right on my hand. Came right out. So I was trying so hard. I was pulling on it, I was tugging on it. It just was not coming out. So anyway, to continue this, so the next thing I gotta do is peel this snap ring out. I'll try to keep this together. These don't have indexing areas like the other ones do, and they also just keep spinning around. There's obviously like a touch to doing this, and I just don't have it. I think you just work your way around, going slow, being careful. Once you get it most of the way out, I think you can just work it out by hand. There it is. Now that I have this out, I should be able to just pull this ring out. Here's the ring. I'm going to keep them in order. There's the ring, and here is the gear carrier. I'm not sure what it's called. At this stage, this is empty, all except for this bearing. So what I do, I went like that, so that'll go up like that. I'll get it all back in. So there you go. It's empty. So that is as far as I'm going to take this transmission apart per se. That being said, I need to send that and this to be machined. And what they're basically going to do is make that fit into this. It's so darn close now. But that's what they're going to have to do. And then when it gets back, the transfer case will be pretty much ready to go back together. I am going to replace some of the broken parts. I'm going to get a kit. I think it's just going to have the thrust bearings and the thrust washers, and there's a seal for the front output yoke. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to freshen it up a little bit with a couple of things, a couple of parts that it needs. The transmission, however, is going to go back together. I'm going to pull each one of these drums apart as far as I am comfortable. There's a couple that need to be checked with air pressure to make sure they're not cracked. And barring anything else, finding any problems with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the check balls in the valve body per somebody's recommendation. I think there's a screen and a couple laminates in there. I'm going to replace those as well. And any O-rings that I've disturbed, I'm going to replace. Otherwise, I'm leaving this mostly alone. I just don't see the need to go tearing it to complete pieces. So that's it. I hope, I don't know if this is going to help anybody, but hopefully you enjoyed watching me stumble my way through this. Don't be as scared of the transmission. This thing came apart. Aside from me not being able to figure out what the heck was going on with this planetary set, which it was just me not being experienced, this was extremely easy to get apart. I mean, extremely easy. There was really nothing that stood out as being a headache or a problem here. It all pretty much just came right apart. So don't be afraid to get in there and do the same thing I'm doing here, because you'll save yourself some money and you'll wind up with the vehicle that you want in the end. So, all right, thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know.